Singapore is the most overworked country.
Like you say, cut your work week by half. Should I still pay you the same amount?
We also have the unhappiest workforce in the world.
I'm not saying that Singaporeans are weak, right? But it could be an overall sense of entitlement.
So what is a good balance?
4-day work week.
Can we go further to make it a guideline or even a law?
Are we going that far?
Do we work to live or live to work? This is your daily Ketchup.
So before we get into the episode, we've noticed that around 50% of the people who are watching our videos are not subscribed. So please, it would do us a huge favor if you would just go down below and take a few seconds to press subscribe.
Like 1 second, not even a few.
And then if you got extra time, you can say, I like before I watch the video.
Today's episode is brought to you by NTUC. And supermarkets might be the first thing that come to mind when you think of those 4 letters, but the
National Trades Union Congress
is actually so much more than that. And that's why today we have NTUC's Deputy Secretary General.
Oh, dang.
Thank you. Mr. Desmond Tan.
Hey, welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. We're going to
Thank you
talk
for
about
having
that
me.
and the state of Singapore's working culture.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's what we're going to get into today.
That's
But before we get into that, just want to do a bit of research. And before this, you were actually in the SAF and you were a Brigadier General, which is the same rank, for those who don't know, as Lee Hsien Loong when he left the army.
Yeah, I mean, Prime Minister Lee.
When he left the army.
Or you can call him Brother Lee Hsien Loong.
This exact conversation.
Yeah.
This brother thing weirds me out. Does it not weird you out?
No, it's a way we greet each other in the union. Everybody's a
Have you
brother.
spoken
If you
about
get to a
guys?
union event, basically everyone addresses themselves as Brother Desmond, Brother Jared.
That sounds very churchy, eh?
No, it sounds okay like that because like it's a conversation. It's like we bro each other, But it's not like when we first started coming in 2017, right? We were invited to the May Day
Rally.
thingy.
Yeah.
Then when on stage, right, they still need to use this brother thing, right? It's damn strange.
In the union, we are like a family, So if everybody is part of the family, we are brothers and sisters.
I think it's nice because suddenly like all your titles, it doesn't matter, like your status, everyone is like equal footing.
equal.
So
But
even
exactly,
the Prime
that's a good
Minister
way to
is
put it.
my brother.
Also, you don't call the boss daddy.
That's not like...
Not quite. No.
So, what, Brigadier General? That's
Yes.
what is the thing?
1 star.
It's 1 star.
Oh, amateur. Wow.
Salute!
Yeah,
That's
so
what you should
for a
say,
start, I served 28 years in the army.
And you are 50.
53 this year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cannot tell.
Yeah.
I feel like you still have a 6-pack, 8-pack.
No.
4.
No, not at all. They all consolidated
so.
into
Okay.
one. Okay. Not appropriate.
Wait, so how does one get a star?
You do your work. Yeah.
No, like, okay, when you first enlist, right, you already signed on.
Yeah, no. I first enlist like everybody else as a recruit, right? National service. That time was 2.5 years for me. And after just before I ORD, that time we call ROD, right?
Right.
I decided that maybe this is something I would do. Plus the fact that they offered me to study.
The sign-on bonus not bad also lah.
Yeah, so I decided, okay, I quite like the environment. I quite like the nature of work in the army.
Right.
It's very people and it's very camaraderie, right? Brother
Yeah.
also. Another place called Brother. And so I decided, well, let me just give it a shot. And that's where I stayed maybe initially for 8 years. But one thing lead to another. I find that the purpose is still there and I continue until 28 years.
I just become 2 SGs, yeah.
Oh,
I still corporal first class.
Bracket NS.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong, sia. Every year they give me the excellent award. I corporal.
I don't even know what it means.
Then the NSF, they just come to the ship. They straight away sergeant. Then I'm the lowest ranked person on the ship.
One notable thing I want to highlight in your career, right, that I found in my research is that you went to Afghanistan. Yeah, you actually participated in the International Security Assistance Force. I don't know why I did this. It's but yeah. So what exactly do you do there?
at the time I was deployed to Afghanistan for about 7 months. And I was the commander of our national contingent who were deployed there for several missions. We had a medical surgical team, we have the reconstruction team, and we also have a trainers team.
Right.
So I was the commander responsible for their mission, for their well-being, and to make sure they all come back safely.
Why did Singapore go?
Okay, so the International Security Assistance Force is part of the NATO arrangements. right?
Yeah.
The North Alliance Treaty Organization. So we supported our partner nations to provide assistance to help the reconstruction of Afghanistan. At that time, of course, the war is still going on, right, with the Taliban and so on. So we wanted to help the nation, sort of the government build the nation.
Yeah.
Every now and then there are still rockets dropping from time to time. Yeah, even where we were staying, we do experience, I have personally experienced quite a number of rocket attacks where we were.
Oh my god.
Say so nonchalant.
Says that,
Very
right?
casually.
I've experienced rocket attacks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
bullets have flown in your direction before.
Not immediately, but I definitely can hear the firefight, like how we do
Right.
in training. I think the closest I came to any kind of attacks was a rocket that landed within the base, 300, 400 meters away. Yeah, so we can actually experience the, like artillery, right?
Yeah.
Bomb, boom, and then
So suddenly there's a
Feel
giant
vibration.
crater in your base.
there are craters all over.
Yeah, the cookhouse is over there,
rockets,
just walk past the crater.
Rockets are fired.
So like, and everyone just
Normal.
kept their shit together. Like, okay,
No.
we simulated this in training.
No. Actually, there is a drill. There's a drill. We are all trained. No. No. So the drill is that when you hear a siren, in fact, one of our job in Singapore Army when we deployed there was to actually provide that early warning.
Yeah.
That 3 to 4 seconds make a lot of difference between you standing straight and you horizontally on the ground, right?
Yeah.
You can save your life. So the drill is when you hear the siren or you hear some kind of explosion, we hit the deck.
Right.
So
Right.
you just go flat on the ground, wherever you are.
But what if
You
you're on
can
the
be
toilet?
eating. Yeah, same thing. Well, unless you're in the hardened toilet, then it's safe. But otherwise, you should.
There's such a thing.
Yeah, the hardened toilet,
What is
they
going
kind
on?
of bulletproof the whole.
The strongest structure in the camp is the toilet.
Bulletproof toilet.
Yeah, the whole accommodation, even the where we sleep,
Right.
it can be hardened. So
Okay.
they have reinforced material.
So do you look up?
Oh,
Like you hear the thing, will you? My first instinct is
you're the only one that's
That's why you're not deployed to Afghanistan.
We don't.
I wonder if you're like still conditioned to it. Like we play the siren now, right? You're like
No,
straight on the
actually,
ground.
to be honest, for maybe a few days, I wouldn't say weeks after I came back,
Ooh, PTSD.
there is a bit of that because you're so used to it. I did achieve something that I've always wanted after I came back, which is I had my third child.
Oh.
Which is a daughter.
Oh,
So the
you always
story is that I have two boys, right? For a long time, my wife didn't want to have a third one. But when I came back, I told her that actually, do you know that statistically, most people who go to Afghanistan, when they come back, actually, they all have daughters. I kind of like,
You just wait only lah.
but I had some data points to prove to her, right?
Okay,
and then
okay,
she said,
okay.
yeah, okay, if that's the case, so
Right.
we tried and I got a daughter.
I'm sick.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
I don't know whether there is this radar thing on the water in Afghanistan. So if you want to get a daughter, go to
Go to
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
You have a rocket fly.
Okay, now you know, guys. Now you know.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you're not wearing a army uniform now. You are
Yeah.
wearing the NTUC uniform. So how do you go from brigadier general, right, to like the deputy secretary? I did it once, but I can't do it again. Deputy Secretary General.
Secretary. Let's go with secretary.
Just DSG.
The DSG
yeah.
of NTUC.
Okay, so after I left the armed forces, which is about 7 years ago, I went to the People's Association.
Right.
So I was the chief executive for about 3.5 years. And before I was asked to join politics in
Right.
2020. And thereafter, I was asked to join the government in the Ministry of Home Affairs and Sustainability Environment for 2 years. And then I was asked to come to NTUC.
But you're still like somewhat like involved in like politics, right? Because
Yeah.
you are actually my MP.
Oh, Pasir Ris.
I'm a Pasir Ris boy. And
Complain.
I see your face in my lift every day.
Okay, now good.
You
Now-
need the people session now. Yeah.
So I am still the member of parliament for Pasir Ris Pongo GRC, and I look after Pasir Ris Central.
Then how you split your day? Because I know like MPs have like, like meet the people sessions. I saw
Yeah.
your like visiting hours or whatever. And then there's still a full-time job here at like,
Yeah, so
NTUC.
essentially it's day and night. So daytime I'll be doing NTUC work. That's my full-time job. And then nighttime, most nights I'm in Pasir Ris. And also weekends. Weekends I'm usually in the Pasir Ris as well, because that's where meeting the residents, doing programs together.
Wait, you do live in Pasir Ris, right?
I don't live in Pasir Ris. So I commute.
That's why you have to keep going to Pasir Ris.
That's why you speak like you don't live Pasir Ris.
Yeah, I don't. But I think I know Pasir Ris quite well now after 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful town.
Yeah.
The best.
Great.
Best.
Best in Singapore. How many
I don't know
towns?
about that. lah.
Anyone want to have any? Hey, Bishan one.
Bishan sure win, right? So I don't even need to argue about this.
So now we move on to the real reason we invited you here, right?
But if you give me 3, right, and 4 days of productivity, right, perfect.
Actually, it's a really good balance.
No, I also think so.
Hold up! Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to join the TDK Union. And back to the episode.
Got benefits. Got benefits. We're figuring it out.
Yeah, we're trying to unionize.
We wanted to talk about Singapore's relationship with work. I think the growing sentiment, if you crawl Reddit, for example, or we look at the media, and I think Jared has prepared some articles.
Yeah, I actually had some stats lah. So
Is that we are damn tired. Wait. And I want to say this.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Why I feel like this could be appropriate to ask you or to discuss with you is also because, for our viewers, you all might hear this word tripartite a lot. So basically, the tripartism within Singapore is the government, the businesses, and the workforce. Or rather, the people in a sense. And so the union will then be the representative for the workforce. Hence,
Very well summarized.
thank you very much. So I wanted to ask you about Singapore's relationship with work, but Jared will kick us off with some of the articles.
Yep. So I have 2 stats lah. So according to Singapore Business Review, right, Singapore is the most overworked country in APAC lah. In the article, it said that Singapore has the longest working hours per week at 45 hours per week in the Asia Pacific region lah. Another article also said that we also have the unhappiest workforce in the world. So a survey was conducted, right, and 48% of workers were unhappy with their workplace lah. Yeah. So I don't know. Do you guys feel that way?
Yeah, I was gonna
It's
ask.
about right lah, I would think.
So hey, yeah, my boss.
No, but in general,
it's good. Yeah.
like I think, right, people are unhappy obviously because they're overworked, but they're overworked. Everything depends on the context. Like sometimes people are overworked not because their bosses tell them to work longer, but because they feel like, oh no, if the person next to me is working until 9, I need to work until 10, and then the person next to me is like, oh no, if they're working until 10, I need to work until 11. So then this competitive nature,
So it's a culture thing.
I honestly feel that because to me, right, it became very clear to me. I used to do that when I was like a young, new graduate or whatever, right? And then after I realized, no lah, like work-life balance, I'm going to leave at 6:30. And I was happy.
And come to work at 10:30 also. He damn late the other day.
I took a photo for proof, right? When I slept last night, I saw that my phone had 15%. Usually 15%, right? I will wake up with 3.
Pulling your leg.
No, but this is an important story to tell. Don't sleep with only 15% of battery left.
I don't know. I feel like COVID played a big part. Like I felt a very major shift, right, in working and in with my friends and their jobs and whatnot, right? Like after COVID, suddenly, right, the feeling and the motivation, the drive for work all like diminished like quite a fair bit. Like people feel like a bit more sian, a bit more sluggish. And then we look at like the transition from like work from home to after that, then they're like companies agreeing to do like flexible working hours or like working schedules and all that. Then now we see, as Denise said, the word is
But not us.
regression to like just back to the old ways already lor. Yeah, and I think people find it difficult. Like the adjustment is difficult after you've seen a way that we can live. Yeah.
So I do agree with John. Actually, COVID has given us, or maybe many of the companies, something to think about in terms of flexible work arrangements. I think prior to that, maybe it's a bit harder, right? For business point of view to say that, okay, you can work 1 day at home or 2 days at home. But I think because of COVID, it kind of opens our minds. So for some company, actually, the productivity may not drop as much. And they begin to realize that actually, the outcome is still good, right? At the same time, I think from the employee's point of view, we see that it does help them, especially many of us having to deal with parent care, even childcare. So this flexible work arrangement is something that I personally strongly believe in. In the past, I think it's really up to the employer, the bosses, right? The boss are more flexible, so you're okay, you just ask for an hour off to do admin and so on. But the question is whether can we go further should we go further to make it a guideline or even a law? Right, you legislate it.
Wow.
So I'm not suggesting that, but I'm just saying that this should be things that we all constantly consider. From my perspective, I think from the union's perspective, we want to support our workers, and flexible work arrangements to me is a very good solution to address the needs of the company and to balance the needs of the workers as well.
I actually don't like working from home. Yeah, because like I remember, I don't know if this is a sentiment, but like I feel like I don't like that my home is my office and then like
No separation.
we work from home one day a week. And I feel like that is actually my most unproductive day.
I remember when we were working from home and we didn't have a choice that time, right? It was also a period where I could see standards dipping, not drastically, but I could see standards dipping. And then I realized, okay, like for example, like if I use an example,
Sure.
okay, that if you are in the office, you are excellent, your output is great. Like I really like your ideas and all that stuff. But when you work from home, like you said, you are unproductive, it could be sluggish, it take longer to come up with good concepts and whatnot, right? So if I appraise him as someone that is working from home because we work from home, then he will fail my appraisal. Yeah, but because when he's in office, he's very good because he got questions he can straight away ask. Yeah, he wants to better understand something, he can walk to that person and understand something. And so then that helps me help him. But personally, I actually don't care where you work.
Right. It's outcome, right?
Sense? Yeah.
If you produce the outcome that you give to him, I think that's the real measure.
It's very individual based, right? Because my wife, right, is the complete opposite of me.
Right.
Like she works from home like 3 days a week.
Right.
Like very heavy work from home stuff, and she still gets like all her work done.
Right.
And like to her, right, going to the office is like a complete waste of time. And
I agree.
It's not like we're working like completely different. Like we're both in the creative field.
Yeah.
And somehow, right, I just can't wrap my head around it. I don't like the environment being the same. But she just thrives,
There's also parents that need to stay home for their kids. There's also parents that want to go office to get away from their kids. Like they can't wait for the confinement to end so that they can go office and like take a damn break.
I think homes are generally not designed for work, right? So we want to have some separation. When I go to work, I go someplace. When I come home, I'm home. So I think during the COVID period, when I did many of the house visits to my residents, I do see that some of them are still on their computer and laptop dinner table, at 8, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And they say that actually the lines are being blurred now.
Yeah.
It's very hard to separate what time is my work time, what time is my off work time.
Yeah.
So there are some pros and cons to it.
On that note of like workplace unhappiness and what you mentioned in terms of our businesses regressing in terms of how they manage, and I feel like it could be an overall sense of entitlement that could be a generational thing, or it could be Singapore experiencing its wave of good times, creating weaker men. You know that saying. I'm not saying that Singaporeans are weak, right? But you know that good times create weak men. And I'm not sure if it's that. I feel like no matter who you are, chances are, no matter who you are and what you do, like I feel like 70% of you would feel that you are underpaid. Yeah, because if you are a very, very high performing individual, you definitely feel underpaid. If you are not a very not a very high performing individual, chances are, if your employer wants to keep you and not fire you, your employer will try and work you a little bit harder to make sense to keep you.
Plus your
Then
payment
that's
gets
where you
stagnant.
double the disparity of overwork, underpaid.
Do you feel that you're overworking? Like, I mean, in today's context?
Yeah.
And
Let go, guys. Let go.
Okay, I personally
John is just
think
a colleague.
I personally think that the overall structure of like, because I think you mentioned one of the stats is 45 hours a week, right? I don't think that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think realistically we should move away from that already. The long durations were because of a different time, a different age, and they needed those to clock those hours. But today we live in a world where you can be hyper efficient, you can do so much, right? In a short span of time, and then spend the rest of the time doing other shit and actually living your life.
So there are studies that say that workers are only productive for like 3-4 hours of the day, and then the rest of it they're actually just trying to put up an act of like I'm doing work and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So then if I'm hearing 45, to me that doesn't make sense at all. I mean, to me it's unrealistic.
Yeah, a lot of it could be wayang lah.
But we do need to figure out how to optimize it so that if say, I think we talked about this before also, right? Like if say cut your work week by half, should I still pay you the same amount?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if I'm delivering the same amount of work and the productivity matches, then why not, right?
But
But it's
you bring the section you can't negotiate.
but it's really unlikely.
okay, I understand
Now you know the dynamic. I'm just quiet on this end only.
In NTUC, we say every worker matters, So I'm here to support
I'm
my
also
workers too.
I did have stats on like how Singapore is the most overworked country, but I also do have stats on like maybe someone we can aspire to be like the least overworked country in the world.
Let's confirm some Scandinavian.
Any guesses, guys?
Scandinavian.
Close. Luxembourg.
Yeah. Also the richest country in the world by GDP
capita?
per capita. I
Oh.
think. Yeah.
And that's interesting, right? Because it's like their national legislation caps the working week to 40 hours.
And they are the happiest.
That's the lowest already. We just fall. All of us trending in this fall.
Employers are required to compensate employees at a premium for overtime. Work on Sunday is prohibited, except essential roles such as maintenance and security personnel.
It's not like you work on Sunday or what, but okay.
So I think there is a bit of a context and culture to it, right? So the society's culture, the expectations and the lifestyle that we are so used to, shops being open late into the nights. So I guess people have to man those shops, right? If we want to have services that are available after our work hours.
Yeah.
So unless we all agree that maybe after 7 o'clock everything is closed and we just go home.
Like Australia.
Yeah.
Then there will be a possibility for us to recalibrate the work hours. But essentially, I think there is a bit of a cultural aspect to how we view work in not just Singapore but Asia in general. There's some commonality of how we see work and life.
Yes, the pay is one aspect. Yes, the overworking is one aspect. But I think I was recently reading like Reddit, and this kind of topic always comes out once every 2 months, which is that everyone, like, there are people who feel like I work 5 days a week to live 2 days a week, and so it's such a struggle because I'm giving more away than I'm actually taking for myself in terms of that time to just be myself. And by the time the weekend comes, you're actually so tired from the week that you're actually just going to stay home and rest.
What are your thoughts on that?
The question is, am I working now or am I living now? Right? How do you define work and life?
But
So it's a bit.
I'm working right now.
You're working
I'm
right
for
now.
sure working now.
Where would you rather be now?
Luxembourg.
So I think personally I see that, you know, in our context, okay, I've been working since I graduated, right? So I don't necessarily see the big separation. Maybe it's a generation thing. In my generation growing up, to see that actually work is very much a part of our life, right? It's work, family, and of course me, my own time, right? My own freedom, sports, whatever you like to do. So it's always balancing these three. And I think having this work-life dichotomy suggests that actually you are just working to live. But I do think that, and that's definitely not what I believe in, that you don't just work to live, because otherwise then you can do anything just to make enough money for you to live. I personally believe we should do something that we feel that there is a purpose, where we believe in, we can contribute to life and other people. I think that's more important than just finding a job. So in that sense, I think I'm more the live to work person, where I find, to me, it's more important to find the purpose, and work then become part of my life. It's not a complete separation that, you know, I work just so that I can spend the weekend with my family. But actually when I work, I find purpose in my work. I'm contributing. That's part of my life too.
it's also life fulfillment through your work.
Yeah.
Work is part of your life.
Yeah, but not everyone has the privilege to get to that situation though. Or that
No,
scenario.
that was the conversation that I was having with my friend the other day about, yes, it sounds a little bit privileged, right? But at the same time, right, if you're in the other circumstance, right, where you have to work to live, right, is it that you fall into not pursuing the thing that you want hard enough? So you end up just like, okay, now I need to settle for something, for money or for whatever, right? And then you end up falling into the trap of leaving the work to live one. Like you fall into that box.
Yeah, I think it depends on the process, because I think if you look at what are my passions and then let me just go and pursue that because I confirm have purpose, the problem is that not every passion pays well. Like if you want to be music, you could be an artist or whatever, and like unfortunately you have to be the very best to really get that proper payday. So then maybe the process is whatever work that I have somehow ended up in, how can I find the purpose so that I add another layer to the work that I do.
But it's difficult. Like for example, Jared, like when you went over to the other company, right, and do a different job, right?
Sure.
What was that? What was that feeling that made you say like, I cannot do this? You know what I mean?
It's completely
Oh, sorry. His words.
Bleep it out.
Yeah.
Just paraphrasing.
When I left this company for a while to go pursue another track, right? What I thought is that, okay, I am done with like pursuing passions, and like now I'm just going to do it for money.
The money then is comfortable.
Because the pay was higher and all that kind of stuff, benefits and all that kind of stuff. But 1.5 years in, right, I just realized I couldn't do it anymore. Like if I'm going to spend 2/3 of my day, right, in this thing 5 days a week, then I really need to find some purpose or meaning in what I do. So in the end, I just came back. But I will have to say, right, so in between the two jobs that I like leaving here, coming back, I did take a 1 month, 1.5 month break. And for the first time in my life, I was given free rein to do what I wanted to do. And then I say, this is my one chance, right, to pursue my passions, to do meaningful, to do what I want to do.
Is this when you bought the MIDI controller?
So I bought a whole ton of music equipment. Say I'm going to kickstart my musical career. I'm going to like download courses on Udemy, all that, like keyboard, how to learn how to play piano.
Upskiller.
And then I told myself, you know what? I'll make that my job. I will wake up at office hours and I'll dedicate 8 hours of it.
Yeah.
Like a 9 to 5, but doing what I want to do.
Okay.
That lasted about 1 week. I spent the next 1 month, right? PS5.
Right.
For like for
No, just change. Gamer.
Yeah. So what that made me realize, right, is that I do need some structure in my life. I do need like that kind of like shift of work to kind of feel
Some
like
routine, right?
Yeah,
Some routine.
to kind of deserve the time to pursue my passions without feeling
Yeah.
very guilty.
Yeah, if not, you play game, you feel like
Yeah, I
completely
my
get
wife
it.
look at me like,
Yeah,
you're a
you fought
bum,
to
man.
Like at the end of the day, right? If at the end of every single work day, I don't feel like my brain is fried, right?
Right.
I don't have good dinner.
Oh.
Yes.
Really, I feel like I didn't earn this meal.
Yeah.
Oh.
But at the same time, I feel like coming back to the workforce, it can be tweaked a bit.
So what is a good balance? What is a
4-day
good
work week.
4-day work week?
Your conclusion is it's like, hey
After
guys,
all that skill,
when I
like,
stay at home to do work Monday, I'm not productive.
No.
4-day work week.
No, because now I feel like I'm back in this grind.
Right.
I feel like I work 2/3 of my day. I go back, I walk my dog, I eat dinner. By the time I got 1 hour of myself to pursue that music again, then I feel like, okay, now I'm working for the weekend, 2 days a week. That's not enough. But if you give me 3, right, and 4 days of productivity, right, perfect.
Actually, it's a really good balance.
No, I also think so.
But if you give me 3, right, and 4 days of productivity, right, perfect.
Actually, it's a really good balance.
No, I also think so. I feel like one day, when it becomes legislation, we'll all be up for it. I think many employers will all be up for it, except maybe the manufacturing
The
sector.
4-day
I don't
work week?
know. Yeah,
Oh,
I think
okay.
most would be, because I think it's the expectation from the other end. Because if we are the only ones to do it, we work with so many government boards as well. They are working 5 days and we are not replying on the 5th day, and we could stagger, but a lot of the stuff that we do require a team, like a production team. You cannot just take one person, you know. And so then when the wider industry doesn't expect us to be on 5 days, we can cut it down to 4. That's cool.
But the other way was horrible also, right? Like once we became globalized, right? Now you're expected to sometimes function 24/7 in certain industries. Like you work around the clock and all this kind of thing. Then it becomes the opposite, so unhealthy. Then that's where the legislation is important, ma.
But it's with that globalization that I also realized that many Singaporeans, the skill set are not improving and they're stuck at a certain level. And then we realize, oh, I see why that global talent pool is so attractive.
Right.
So much cheaper. Yeah, I think that was a big wake up call for Singaporeans also to realize that they are competing with a freelancer in Nigeria or like Russia.
Did you all manage to work 5.5 days? The 5.5 day work
That used to be the norm,
Used to be,
right?
Yeah, used
Yeah,
to be.
I remember my parents having
My
to
mom
go
used to
into
say
the-
that.
Your parents, that means that's my generation.
I didn't want to make it seem more.
Wait, 5.5 days is what?
Saturday half day.
Saturday morning. Half day,
Yeah,
yeah.
used to be the case, you know.
I would follow my mom to the office.
Pokemons. Really, man?
Yeah. All the this was the standard. I think in the probably
80s?
90s. I think
Right.
that
Don't be
we
tricked.
moved from 5.5 days to 5 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have part-timed before, I think, for those 5.5 days kind. Well, not a full-time
So
job.
we have also moved with the time. So whether we will move to 4 days work week, I think that's something to be seen.
Maybe we start with 4.5
It's about
lah,
time,
huh?
ah.
Friday, half day. But I think from a business perspective, it's very hard because like almost every election, right? Like the statistics always brought up is like productivity. Singapore's productivity is either very good, very bad. And like if Singapore is always going to be regional or even global HQ for a lot of companies and they are going to hire the talent pool from Singapore, it's very hard to know that, actually, if it's legislation, Singapore only works 4 days. Like,
Yeah.
do I really want to put my HQ here? Then maybe I want to go to KL instead.
But we also have to ask ourselves, if we reduce the official work hours, do we also expect the service standard to remain the same?
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's F&B or public service. Because if it remains the same, it means that you need more people to man the shift, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that we do not have the luxury of. I mean, our manpower is going down. How do we then circumvent this challenge of balancing the service expectations with the desire for a better work-life balance?
Robots.
Automation is actually
Exactly.
Which is actually a great thing for the workforce because you eliminate like very menial tasks. Speaking of business perspective, so like I think Jared touched upon something earlier about how like he moved to the other job and then obviously it was higher paying, there was benefits and stuff like that. At the end of the day, the best talent want to be paid the best. And I feel like within the same industries, the people that actually lose out are SMEs because in reality, we can't compete with MNCs in regards to like the amount of pays or benefits that they can provide. As you work with SMEs, right, what is your advice to them or how do you think they can best make up for that gap so that SMEs can also attract the best talent?
Yeah, indeed. Actually, in NTUC, we now have the union for SME as well. So we bring them on board. Most of the employers, Tauke, they will buy membership for all the employees as a form of staff benefits. And they are part of the network, NTUC. NTUC. So actually we have many hundreds of SMEs with us now. And they join us because we are able to provide certain support in terms of training, especially the training and transformation part that I talk about, E2I, Learning Hub.
Right.
And also we will look at some of their business requirement in terms of their future business plans. So we do have consultants within my setup to help businesses look at their future business transformation, job redesign. Of course, helping them to apply for grants from government. Government do have quite a number of grants for SME as well. So one of the big initiatives that we just roll out is the Career Starters Lab, which is targeted at young people in their higher institution learning, IT, poly and university, to give them their structured opportunity, internship opportunity in our companies. And also to assign mentors.
How does that differ from what the school gives?
Yeah, so there are a few things that we are doing differently. One is that it is more structured with onboarding, and we kind of curate the companies from the unions, and we are working with the Singapore National Employers Federation as well. So the companies that come on board, and that's one. The structure is a bit different. Second, there are also mentors assigned during the internship.
Right.
So there will be specific role given to them, what they can expect, what kind of exposure they'll be given to, and then of course mentors assigned to them to guide them through and to give them career advice.
And must pay.
No, they don't have to pay. In fact, actually we do provide some funding support for the companies who are prepared to take them in as interns. So we are starting out with 100 companies, but we hope to be able to scale it and to get more youth to join us. And of course, in time to come, internship.
I used to be a NIBO member.
The very young NTUC member.
Correct. Were you all? None of you.
I was a Nivo member.
Because we can play LAN.
I rolled out the arcade. I wasted so much money as a Nivo member.
So you are already part of the NTUC network.
Yeah, you all have our data as
Like
well.
back then. Do you know what Nivo stands for?
E is everybody.
Wait, and it's
Not
NTUC
every
lah,
day.
right?
Nobody enjoys being ordinary.
Nobody enjoys being
Oh, you have
ordinary.
it.
No lah,
Okay.
that's the tagline lah, right?
That's
that's
Nibo.
really it. Oh.
Yeah, acronym for Nibo.
Is it a small letter, big letter just because that's how people used to type back then?
You weren't in charge of that, right?
Before your time.
Yeah, some guy came
It
out.
was the millennial that came out with it.
Yeah, it's
back
cool
then.
when we type
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense then. I remember looking at it being,
correct.
the membership card very cool.
This was MSN.
I think that's one of our efforts to try and reach out to the younger people in Singapore before they even join the workforce.
But they're all old
But
now.
all we did was play arcade.
Yeah. No. Hey, Jasmine, our Jasmine, she went to volunteer and they sent her on she interned with them also.
Yeah.
While we were playing,
While we were playing LAN, Jasmine was learning life skills.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so it depends on the person lah.
It's really the person lah.
So now, kids can still be a Nemo member now.
Yeah.
It's still going on.
It's still ongoing. In fact,
Okay.
we are trying to expand the offerings other than arcade and
Yeah, please
e-gaming.
tell me what else you could have offered 14-year-old Jared.
So Nibo usually are those students at 15 years old, that
Secondary
kind of
school.
level. So it's actually giving them opportunity to, of course, interact
Play game.
Socialize,
and also to leadership opportunity. So they do have opportunity to interact with different groups.
Wait, so anyone can sign up to be a NTUC member?
Yes, anybody can sign up to be an NTUC member.
Because I remember there were booths at like
Yes,
Downtown
at a fair
East
price.
to like sign up to be a NIBO member.
Yeah.
But just to get the arcade card.
Yeah, no, but for NTUC itself, like there's specific unions for your specific like industries. So even for media professionals, there's a media professionals union.
Yes.
That we can do. I think it's creative
Media Publishing Union.
Yes.
CMPU.
Yes.
So today we have 58 unions and 7
shit.
associations.
Okay.
Even the creative content personnel, they can join us as a freelancer. We also have a union for freelancers and self-employed.
I have an idea for NTUC.
Yes.
The audacity.
Business
Wait.
opportunity.
You think through first.
I think already. The whole time I quiet, I thinking.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So right, again, back to the whole benefits SME versus MNC thing, right? MNCs have the economics of scale to like pay a decent rate for like say insurance benefits and like gym memberships and all these different things that they provide, right? If NTUC for SME or whatever, like the name is, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to say whatever. So nervous. What if right the SME union thing can group together multiple SMEs, right? So we have a group buy package.
Correct. Like MINDEF in group insurance like that.
And then NTUC also got insurance, got income. So then, together, cheap rate, everyone can enjoy.
That's a very good idea.
Join the union for that.
So today maybe I sell a bit of koyo. So NTUC member, $9 a month, you pay $117 is 13 months, right? $117 a year. Actually, we don't just look at protection. So protection is one of the 4 P's that we advocate in terms of the membership outcomes and benefits, right? So protection is a baseline because I think every worker, when they have grievances, they feel that they are dismissed in the wrong way. So union is here to support you, right? So that's the protection part. And increasingly young people like yourselves, you may not find that as necessary because you're mobile, you're empowered. If you're not happy, you can just switch company, right? But I think we still need to ensure that have this level of protection, which is a kind of insurance for workers who face grievances in the workplace against their employer. So that's the first P baseline. But we also look at privileges. And privileges is something that you mentioned. So as a union member, you do get, of course, NTUC, all the enterprise link points, discount at the supermarket, NTUC income. Actually, every member is insured to some level as part of the membership fees that you pay every month, right? So, and also training credits. Yes. I'm not sure if you know that actually this thing called the U-Tab. Actually, all of you as a member, NTUC member, you pay $9 a month, you get $250 every year for training to any courses that you want.
Which is similar to the
Skills Future
credit. Right?
So yeah, but this is recurring. This every year you get it.
Right.
So every year $250. So these are some of the privileges. Of course, we have discounts at theatre, cinemas, and food places and so on as well.
Plus, when you put together with your trust card and then you get like 22%.
Correct.
My research.
Oh, very good. You must be a member, right?
No, I'm not.
Because he follows me on Instagram.
The other 2 P's are actually progression, which is related to training. So Learning Hub, and also for union leaders, they also have training in OTCI, our training institution.
Right.
And the last one is placement, job placement. So E2I is part of NTUC. So for career coaching, for job placements, and now with the Career Starter Lab, we also help to place our young people into good companies as part of their internship opportunity. But I take your ideas. Actually, for the USME Tauke's, my colleague, Miss Yo Wan Ling has been looking at how to support
Sister.
Well, you are learning very fast. Sister Wan Ling has been looking at how to better support our SMEs who are in our network by putting together a package or bundle of benefits for the companies and of course for the workers who are part of the companies as well.
You mentioned training, right? Based on what I've seen people take their certifications, right? It seems pretty, like a better word, basic. Like maybe it will, like really the ones I've seen is like
Microsoft Office.
Microsoft Office, PowerPoint, Excel. So like I'm wondering like as a higher skilled like worker, right?
Presumptuous. Very presumptuous.
His job is that he does YouTube videos.
Is there like levels of training that will benefit me?
Yeah, I think there is training for everybody. So Learning Hub in itself do not conduct all the training. So we work with institutions, even universities, some of the training providers to I think we have more than tens of thousands of courses available for every level, for every sector, for every skill sets.
Okay.
In fact, we also launched the LXP, the learning platform, which is learning on the go. You can do your own self-directed learning as part of the Learning Hubs initiative to empower people to learn on their go.
The UTEP credits can do for anything or must be like approved courses?
They'll be approved courses, but I mean, it's quite a big range. Quite a big range.
After all this, like that we share, right? Like I think many people still have this misconception that NTUC works for the government. They do not.
So what's the difference actually?
It's a union,
Yeah, it's separate entities. It's just but how do you balance that?
No, that's why I got membership fees. The other one is taxes.
Personally, for you, how do you balance that? Because you are an MP, but you're also part. So you're actually two parts of that tripartite. How do you balance it for yourself?
So I'm seconded from the government to the union. Right. So it's a full secondment. That means I'm now working as part of the NTUC. So this started because of the symbiotic relationship that you all talked about, and the tripartism we believe is very important, right? So that's why I think we regularly, now in fact there are 7 or 8 of us, Labour MP, who are now working in NTUC to make sure that we basically close the linkages between the government as well as the union, and make sure that the union has a voice also in the government. And that's the whole idea of strengthening the tripartism and the symbiotic relationship between the party and the NTUC.
Wow, that's a huge weight on your shoulders, because like you and the other two are like essentially speaking on behalf of every worker in parliament.
Yeah, there are quite a number of us, and we look at different segments of our workers, and we try to champion their causes and advocate for them.
I just want to say your shirt looks very cool because it's Uniqlo. I didn't realize.
Yes, so Uniqlo is a unionized company under my union actually. So I'm also executive secretary for one of the bigger union called the Singapore Industrial and Services Employees Union, CISU.
Okay. Sounds like dim sum.
For May Day, we decided to ask them if they would like to co-brand with us.
And great decision. Because the red t-shirts are fast compared to this. Cannot compare.
The quality, your quality of the t-shirt has went up a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well done.
It's a very big network, the NTUC, the unions. And while in the process of course, our mission is to create better life for our workers, regardless of their colours, ages, and education and so on, nationalities included. So we want to make sure that every worker have a better life through the work that we do in supporting them.
You've talked to a lot of people on the ground, right? Like what I'm curious about is like, what is like, maybe I narrow it a bit, like what is like a common like career like related concern that you feel like you often hear,
The different segments have different concerns, right? So the young people is actually it's a good problem. They are not sure which sector they should go into. Right, there are quite a number of options. To be honest, you graduate, you have a degree or even diploma or ITs, a NITEC. Actually, you do have options. So the question is, what is suitable for me, and what is my own expectation of the balance we talked about just now, right? So that's one question, and that's why the Career Starter Lab try to give them the exposure and opportunity to have some time to think about and experience it before they make the final decision.
Because the school only give you that one so if you want more.
That's right. So that's one segment. I think for the middle age like myself, the concern is really about how do you ensure that you can support the parents who are kind of aged and also have time with the children who are not yet graduating, right? So I think they are sort of sandwiched in that sense, and it's not easy for them to move into a new job at that age, to be honest. So, but at the same time, because of the structure of our job, sometimes they have to take a new direction. So that's where NTUC will come in to try and support them in this career transition.
And I think the mentorship thing is really interesting because I think right now there are more careers than there are diplomas and degrees. Like more disciplines out there. And so like in the past, it was very clear, you study law means you intend to be a lawyer. Whether you make it or not, you intend to be, right? You study comms, you intend to join media. But now it's like media has its own industry within media, which there's no one that specializes in anything. So I think this mentorship thing is interesting.
And you brought up career coaching, right?
Yeah.
What is career coaching?
So essentially, E2I, for example, does career coaching. So they are professional career coaches who see the workers one-to-one. They will try to map out what are your aspirations, what is important to you at this stage, what do you expect in terms of the nature of work, the hours, the environment, your aspiration for progression and responsibilities, right? And then, of course, they then map out what are your skill sets in terms of your experience in certain sectors, certain companies and so on. And then they'll tell you, okay, you may want to consider some of these jobs that are available. So now actually there are a lot more tools, platform actually system that help to match your skill sets and experience and aspirations to the jobs that are available. So basically, this is what the career coach does to help individuals find out what they want and then hopefully channel them to a certain path.
I think the hardest thing with this, the upscaling thing, and in fact, people getting sick of their jobs even quicker and quicker and quicker, right? If I have like 10, 15 years in this certain industry, can I just go to NTUC and say, I'm looking for a job switch? Can, right?
Yeah.
And then what would you all do? Because it could be anything already, right?
Yeah.
My skill set is not relevant already, right?
Yeah. So I think this is a good time to get a career coach, right?
Yeah.
To see a career coach to basically talk through actually why you think you want a career switch and what are you looking out for next. Right. So it's basically having that conversation and then mapping out your skill sets and your expectations and then perhaps recommending certain path for you to consider. So other than this career coach, which is usually a very good first step for people who want to consider switching careers, actually in E2I and WSG, they do provide funding support and NTUC as well, right? In terms of what we call the place and train or the career conversion program.
So many terms.
And actually these are initiatives to help individuals and companies also de-risk. Basically, if they employ you without skills, it's a risk to me, right?
Yeah.
So we actually provide funding for your salary, for your training to the employers, and they'll take you in, they'll put you on the job, send you for training, and your salary for several months is covered by the government. Or do you consider at some point in time, you're going to consider, okay, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life?
I already had that thought once already. I'm back.
Hey, welcome back.
Thank you, man. Yeah.
We're going to unionize it.
Nice!
Yeah, let's go.
The benefits are going to be...
Thank you. Put it on record, right? It's going to join the union.
You're not alive, can delete.
So logically, it seems like if I want to make a career switch, right, the thing I shouldn't be doing is just like just going out on my own, go to LinkedIn, go to jobs and all that kind of stuff and look for positions and maybe see like, okay, I just cold call.
Sounds like you do this every week. Yeah.
No.
You don't age, right?
I don't. No, but like what people should be doing, right? And this is not selling Koyo. It sounds like really the most logical thing is just go over and like get some career coaching. It doesn't seem that expensive. And then this guy will kind of help you. And then there's even like financial support.
Yeah, because sometimes you get bogged down the day to day.
We should all do it.
You can't see the big picture.
Yeah, we should all do it and figure out whether we are... Maybe I meant to be a farmer, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God.
And that's the episode. Once again, a very big thank you to our sponsors, NTUC and Mr. Desmond Tan, of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brother.
Joining us.
We hope that today's conversation has given you a better idea of how to navigate your career. And if you want more information on NTUC's various initiatives, head over to the links below. Yep. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
What is DSG Desmond Tan's workout routine?
The only thing I do almost every day is chin up.
What? Okay. Wow, that's for one exercise. That is a very tough exercise.
How many sets have you read?
Yeah, that's the easiest. That's the easiest.
Okay,
And
so
just do
many?
it before you go to sleep, right?
So how many?
I just keep 10 to 12 every day. Just 10.
Oh, that's not bad.
I
That's
don't
not
think I
bad.
can do 10 anymore.
Do you leave army with an IPPT goal?
Yes.
Of course you did.
I feel like if
But
you
at
have a
50,
star,
you walk
need
also
to-
can, right?
How dare you?
No, man.
Dare you?
No, man. The older you get, the easier the thing.
But you get older.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
That's why
The body beating
standard is lower, but actually it's get harder. That's a good reason why they lower the standards.